Hello there. How's your day going today? I truly hope it's treating you right. So, today we are going to learn a pretty resourceful and a very powerful grammatical tool or grammar tool, in fact, known as the active voice right on your screen. All right. So, before I kind of dive into this topic, I would like you to do a small activity at the start of the session itself. That is, pause the video and try to answer this simple question. That is, why do I have to really learn active voice? Or what is the reason behind learning a grammatical tool that is pretty much in reference to active voice? Try to answer that question. Take a few seconds or minutes and try to understand why exactly a person uses active voice. Now, if you know the answer, it's wonderful. However, it's my job to let you know this particular concept in detail and in depth. So I'm going to start the session with that thought in mind. All right. So today, as you can see on the screen, active voice is the topic, right? When do we use active voice? We use active voice when we look at this particular strategy where the subject performs the action. Okay, we use voice active voice in reference to kind of articulating those sentences in regards to show certain clarity along with directness together. If your sentence is direct and you are looking at talking to someone directly without kind of sounding confused, you are looking at using active voice altogether. Just to get you that simple that simple difference, or the mini, for you to understand that small difference between active voice and a passive voice, I have just got this particular sentence that follows from here, as you can see on the screen. Use passive voice to emphasize the action or the recipient, or when the doer is unknown or irrelevant. So what does that mean? Okay, it's very easy to understand this particular voice, that is active voice. However, this session revolves only around this particular grammatical tool, that is active voice. And passive voice, we are going to probably take the next session. The next session is going to be in regards with passive voice itself. Right now, I just gave you a very small difference between the active and the passive voice for your better understanding. All right. However, the whole session, this particular lesson, is only about active voice. Okay. So now the next point that we really need to understand is, what does it help you to do? What does this active voice per se helps you to do? Active voice helps you to show who performs the action. Okay, it helps you to understand who the subject is, who's the main character of the whole story. All these points are clearly, enclosed when you're looking at active voice. So it shows clearly who performs the action, the first point to keep in mind. And the second important point is, it helps you to write strong, direct and confident sentences along with speaking. Okay, it's used when you're writing along with speaking as well. So both of the skills are covered when you're looking at using active voice. All right. Now, a very valid point to kind of think about is, what are the situations that we are we looking at when we are using active voice. The real life situations pretty much revolve around when you want clear and direct sentences. You can use them there. When the doer or the person who's doing the action is important, is when active voice comes into scene. All right, that's again something very important to keep in mind. The third point here is, writing everyday communication also is covered whilst using active voice. And very important, when you're writing stories or even persuasive content, active voice comes into play. Okay, so we kind of covered what exactly active voice is. We got to know a very small difference, okay, a minuscule difference between what active and passive voice is. And then we also kind of took a look at where exactly in our real life situations can we use this grammatical tool. The key idea or the concept, what exactly is the key idea? The key idea is to understand When can a person use this particular tool? Is when the subject performs the action, it means you are on the right track to use active voice. Okay, active voice. So you are on the right track in order to use active voice only. You need to kind of keep this particular idea in your mind that the sentence must reflect the subject as your main player. Okay, great. The next topic that I would want to truly talk about is when to use it or a particular rule. So when will you use this grammatical tool, guys? I already kind of told you that here again and again, that when you are, looking at gaining a certain sense of clarity, you're going to use it, right? And when you know that the doer or the subject is important, also you're going to look at using this particular tool itself. Or when you want strong communication, where whatever you're telling or whatever you're constructing should direct only towards one direction or one point, and that is strong communication, you are also looking at using active voice. Or when you look at using shorter sentences whilst you're speaking. Okay, just to kind of give you a gist of where exactly you might be using it is also right on your screen. That is business writing. Okay, it's used when people are into a certain business writings, like it can be used when you're writing emails, when you're giving out things like related to business area, all right, and then speeches, essays, along with storytelling as well. All these sections require one to understand the concept of active voice. An important tip to understand here, again and again, I just kind of give you this gist of revision in between, that the doer is unknown, okay, or unimportant, or intentionally hidden, then it is not active voice. Please remember this, guys. Please remember this. This is a very important rule, because it's a very important tip as well. When the doer is unknown, or if the doer is unimportant, is not an important person, or if the doer or the subject is intentionally hidden in the sentence, it means it is passive voice. Okay, it's not active voice. All right, I hope I'm clear here, because I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Now, look at the screen. A shortcuts question. What do you mean by a shortcut question? This is a question that you will ask yourself before constructing a sentence. All right. It can be when you're looking at practicing this as well. Ask yourself this question: did the subject perform the action in the sentence I just created? Ask this question to yourself, guys. I'm not asking it to you right now. You need to ask this to yourself. You have to kind of tell yourself or ask yourself that, did the subject perform the action in the sentence that I have created? If it's an yes, then it's a great job. You are on the right track. To what? Obviously, to use the grammatical tool that we're talking about today. Correct? Great. Let's look at another important point for today: meaning first and not form first. A pretty simple understanding behind this, this point today is that I do not want you to be overwhelmed by the structure of active voice, going onto the internet and trying to understand what is the structure. Before that, we need to know what is the meaning of the, this phrase. What is the phrase active voice? We need to know the meaning. So the meaning pretty much revolves around the subject being responsible for the action. Okay, then you are at the right place, that is you're using active voice. And if the sentence feels direct, again, the sentence shows a kind of directness. There is no beating around the bush or taking a u-turn. The sentence feels direct. It feels like, okay, a person is standing right in front of you and they are talking to you, and it is direct, so that is also active voice. The message is clear and engaging. What do you mean by clear and engaging? Here, when we kind of talk in terms of passive voice, the message sometimes is misunderstood. It's not clear. Okay, that is the reason we need to understand the structure pretty much revolves around these three bullet points. Okay, that is the subject is responsible. All right. The second is the sentence feels direct. The third is the message is clear and it's engaging at the same time. Right. Let's go ahead and look at certain examples in reference to active voice itself. John painted the fence. Look at the sentence, guys. Look at the sentence. John painted the fence. Is there anything that is confusing here? It's pretty simple to understand. There's this person or this guy, John, and he painted the fence. Active voice. That's it. The teacher explained the lesson. Very simple, right? The teacher explained the lesson. So what's happening here? The sentence is direct and there is no deviation of your thought process. So basically your sentences are crystal clear, okay, when it is in this form, that is active voice. Now the third example, she completed the project. Okay, so again the same drill, a pretty crystal cut sentence. And really what I want you guys to do is, anywhere you see examples on the screen, just one thing to do and one thing to keep in mind: pause the video and do the needful. And what is the needful, guys? What is the needful? This is for your benefit. Okay, it's not for my benefit. What I'm doing here truly is trying to relate with you and trying to give all the concepts and strategies that we curate here at GK Pro Academy. Kindly go ahead and pause the video and practice within the session, guys, and that's truly important. Okay, great. Moving on ahead. Now again, just to reinforce, I told you there will be there are like particular sections within the lesson wherein I'm going to give you many revisions of the topic that we are kind of discussing about every single day. All right, trying to make a square here, I'm sorry, a rectangle. However, that's not happening. Okay, no issues. So here the subject is performing the action. All right, in which voice are we in right now? What are we learning right now, or what am I sharing with you? Let us go back to the main, you know the topic. The name of your grammar tool is active voice, and when it's active voice, try to remember the subject is performing the action. Okay, great. Now let's build some sentences together. How about that? Let's start building sentences and looking at three types of common sentence types when you look at active voice. Okay, so simple action in reference with present or past tense. Okay, the structure is pretty much your subject, verb, and object. Very easy. Easy, all right, very easy. It's very easy. It's just subject plus verb and your object, nothing much. Let's kind of look at the meaning here. The subject does something to someone or to something. All right, try to understand whilst you're looking at the structure, guys. When I read the structure out for you, that is the subject plus verb plus object, it means I'm kind of telling you that this is the structure. Whenever I read the sentence, what I kindly want you to do is look at the examples at the same time. Okay, see, subject is she, verb is writes, a letter is your object. Right, again, wherever you see examples, pause the video and read it out aloud, because it helps you, guys. It helps you in a certain way that it will enhance your fluency at at the end of the session. All right, so second example is Ravi sings a song. Again, we are closely, actually almost relating to the structure itself directly, right? You can see subject is Ravi, sings is verb, a song is your object. It's a simple action. However, we are talking about the present form. They built a house. They built a house. Again, subject, verb plus object. So this is your type 1, guys. Let's kind of go ahead and move on and try to take a look at type 2. What is type 2? Obviously continuous action. This word continuous is pretty much so simple to understand. Why? Whenever you see continuous in any tense form, all right, when we are talking about time, what do you mean by continuous? Obviously, your verb is taking the ing form, right? Look at this. Your verb is taking the ing form. That's all. So your structure is subject. Your auxiliary verbs change here. Okay. So it is, am, are plus verb in the ing form. Okay. So the meaning is the subject is doing the action right now because it is continuous, it's going on. All right. So let's quickly look at some examples for better understanding. She is writing a letter. See this? Ting. Am I right? The next example, they are playing football. Beautiful. They are playing football. Again, something that's going on. All right. Some action that's really taking place right now and in the ing form. I am reading a book. I'm doing it right now. So All this is in reference with active voice again. However, the tense wise, you really need to keep in mind that when there is a verb in the ing form, it means it's a continuous action. Now, be or verb or state of action. What do you mean by state of action? This is something new that I've ever heard. If people think like this, I'm here to explain it to you. Stative verbs are verbs when a person feels something like happy, angry, anxious, sad, emotional, things like this, or feelings. All right, feelings. So, what is the structure when this happens? The structure of your sentence is like this. Look at the screen. That is subject. Be. Be means what? Be means these auxiliary verbs. That is, am, are, was, were, plus a complement. Complement is nothing but, don't get overwhelmed or kind of think what exactly a compliment is. If someone says you're beautiful, then it is a compliment, right? It's something closely related to that theory itself. So the subject exists or is in a state. What do you mean by state? State in the sense, the state in which that person is at that point of time. Am I clear? The state in which that person is at that point of time. For example, he is happy. What's happening with him? He's happy. Probably because he bagged an interview, or probably because he's happy because he wrote his exam really well. So, how would an active voice, statement or a sentence which is declarative in nature sound? It would sound, he is happy. All right. They are late. She was tired. Okay, so these are the three structures I wanted to share with you today. All right, so type 1 is a simple action wherein you're looking at using your present or your past tense. However, again, in the active voice format, structure is subject, verb plus object. Already went through the example. The second type is the continuous action wherein your verb is taking the ing form. Keep that in mind clearly. Okay, then the third type is the be verb or the stative form wherein you're looking at a person being in a certain state. But what is the structure? Subject, be, in the sense these auxiliary verbs is, am, are, were, or was. Okay, and then your complement in the sense the state in which the person is. Okay, so that is something that we really need to understand. Now, moving on to the next topic, that is active voice with models. What are models? Not mannequins or not models like people who do ramp walk, not them. We'll leave them alone. However, models in English are words that help you to sound polite. Okay, like will, could, can, should, would, must. All right, all these words are very powerful. I also spoke in about these particular words, and one of the I think one of the lesson which is going free on YouTube, again in reference to the 50-day spoken English course that's going on. It's again from GKPro, and that's also absolutely free. Please go ahead and catch those that series as well. Let me tell you, there is a whole session on the usage of models and how they help you to sound polite. Okay, great. So, what's the subject here? I'm sorry, the structure here is okay. The structure is subject plus model and your base verb. Pretty simple, right, guys? Pretty simple. But we truly, as humans, need to understand how do these models or how do these particular words affect the meaning of the sentence? How do they affect us? If you can look at the screen, can is basically when you're talking about the ability of a particular person. Okay, ability. If the person is able to do that or not, ability. Will is used when this, is in reference to any future action or something that can take place in the near future. But still, it's a model. Must. Must means what? If you even look at it, logically, if I say you must close the door, you must attend the interview, or you must go out now, I sound pretty strong, right? I sound pretty strong. So here, when I'm kind of talking about this particular word must, it shows strong necessity in the sense this person has to get this work done. Let's look at some examples in relation with the model and the example. Just look at the model and the example. Just forget about the meaning here because I just spoke about it and I told you what the meaning actually means. Now, can, if I use can in an example or a sentence, it pretty much sounds like this: she can solve the problem. What do I mean by she can solve the problem? She can solve the problem means it is directly related to her ability. Correct? Second, will. If I say they will complete the task is not yet completed. They will. Future reference, right? Again, I'm sounding really polite. Now, here, must. If I use must in a sentence, it sounds like this: You must finish your homework on time, or you must finish your work on time. I do not sound rude. Why? Because I'm using this particular word must. If I say, please finish, no, if I, even if I don't use please, finish your work right now. If I say something like this, it sounds really rude. Now, when you use models, okay, your speech also tends to tone down and you sound very polite at the same time. All right. Again, guys, what I truly want you to do is pause the video, and read aloud. Read these sentences aloud. Okay. Now, let's look at some examples. Okay. Some real life model examples in different tenses. Okay. So, simple present and active voice sentence will sound like this: She reads a book. Simple past: She wrote a story. Present continuous: She is writing a letter. Present perfect. Okay. It sounds like she has completed the project. All right. Now, simple future. Look at this. I've got two different sentences here. One is in terms to active, and one is in reference with passive. Okay. So the active voice in regards to simple future, all right, sounds like this: She will draw a picture. So what's happening here? She's still not drawn it, but she is going to draw it. So active voice sounds like this: She will draw a picture. Okay. Now, when you're looking at passive, why did I bring passive here when I already told you this is all about active voice that I'm speaking today? Just to show you the difference. Because the next section that we are going to talk about, or rather the next lesson that we are going to, talk about, is passive voice. And I want you to get a gist of the whole concept, that how exactly passive voice sounds different when compared to active voice. Cool. Let's move on. So, the passive voice sounds like this: A picture will be drawn by her. So, truly in reference to future, all right. So, a picture will be drawn by her. Now, this is passive voice for you. I will deep dive into this concept only when we are touching that topic, guys, because I do not want to confuse you. All right. Let's quickly take a look at the contrast corner. And what do you mean by contrast corner? Again, something that you truly need to understand, because there are certain things that we as human beings commit, and you know what they are. You know what they are, right? What do we commit? We commit mistakes because we are humans. Now, if we know the contrast or the difference between what we are really doing, is when we can actually avoid those mistakes. Okay. So, this section, starting from the contrast corner to your common mistakes, is all about that. Let's quickly go ahead and look at them in detail. So, the structure and the time link or the usage. Okay. The structure, when you're looking at active voice, is very simple, right? It's very simple, because you are going to kind of concentrate on the subject performing an action when it is an active voice, when the sentence is in the active form. Now, when it is in passive form, I told you the subject kind of receives the action, it becomes secondary, and your action becomes primary. Okay, I hope you're truly able to relate with me, guys. I try my best to give you, the whole concept clearance here. That is what my main motto is. So, what's happening to the active voice here? The subject performs your action, and passive voice, your subject becomes secondary and your action becomes primary. And I told you about the state of verbs, right? When the subject is existing in a certain state, like happy, sad, angry. So at that point of time also, you're kind of looking at using active voice, but in a different format. I also spoke about the format here, type 3. Here, look at this, type 3. That is subject, and your verbs, or your auxiliary be form of verbs, is am, are, was, were, plus your complement or the state of the person. All right. So that is what this is talking about. Now let's compare each of these structures. Active voice sounds like this: John wrote the report. Passive voice, however, sounds like this: The report was written by John. Okay, I think now you're pretty much getting into the the zone according to me, and you're relating with me. I hope that's happening. All right. Now, the last active or to the be form, all right, sounds like this: John is responsible for the report. Who is responsible? John is responsible. So what is the state here of John? That he is a very responsible person. And he is the one who is going to be looking at completing the report. That's the contrast for you. Now, common mistakes, guys. Common mistakes. Now, let's closely try to take a look at those mistakes for a second. So, forgetting the object. Now, this is very rare. I want to kind of go ahead and draw an emoji here, which pretty much is sulking. Why? Why is it sulking? Obviously, because no one can forget the object. Okay. Now, if I say she completed, the person standing right in front of me will be wondering, what did she complete? What did she complete? So please do not forget the object whilst you're articulating any sentence in regards with your active voice. The right sentence must sound like this. That is, she completed the project. The presence of object is pretty much mandatory. Mistake 2, confusing passive with active. That is again rare, all right, but happens sometimes. If you can look at the example itself, the report was written by her, it is purely passive. However, the active voice sounds like she wrote the report. Correct? Correct? Okay, guys, so these are the two mistakes which are pretty rare, but they can be committed sometimes. People can go confused when they're talking, so that's okay. We just covered that for you right now. So now let's look at something even more important. Now it's your turn. It's your turn. It's not my turn. It's your turn. Why is it your turn? Because you can see on the screen we have reached a very important section known as the activity section, or the practice, guided practice sessions within the lesson itself. What I really want you to do is again the same thing. Pause the video and complete these activities whilst you're in the lesson. Don't jump out of the lesson and then try to do them, because I'm sure that's quite impossible. Okay, so she dash. Okay, she just kind of fill in these blanks. She fill this blank a letter. They fill this blank a house. I again the same drill. The work. Okay, the teacher dash the lesson. This one is already done earlier. So this, I think you know the answer to this. Okay. Activity 2 for you guys. Activity 2 for you. Describe what you did today, but there's a twist here. There's a twist. Let me draw a twist. Does this even look like a twist? Yeah, pretty much. Okay, there's a twist here, like a tornado. Now, what is the twist? This is a speaking task. Okay, this is a speaking task. What are you going to do here is very important. Okay, I'm just going to share a quick tip with you guys in order to enhance your pronunciation and your fluency as well. All right. So what you're going to do is you are going to kind of record yourself whilst you're speaking all these, whilst you're answering these questions. The first is describe what you did yesterday, describe your morning routine, explain one achievement that you completed. All of these have to be recorded whilst you're speaking, and listen to the recording again in order to correct yourself. If there are any pronunciation mistakes or if there are any grammatical mistakes, please go ahead and make a note of them and work on them the next time. All right. The third activity is also pretty clear. Create 3 active sentences, okay, about your daily life. Great. Cool. Great. Now moving ahead, a quick recall, guys, or can be even it can be a recap. All right. Let's just not call it a recall. How about me giving you a recap? So active voice means the subject performs the action. Very clear. Okay, so what are you going to do? If you're looking at doing a particular activity, you can just pick out a small paragraph, all right, and in that paragraph try to find the doer or the subject of the whole sentence or the paragraph, and that means that you have pretty much understood what active voice is. If the doer performs the action, then it is an active voice. Okay, that's your recap for today. Now, before I just end the session, I want to give a quick conclusion. That is, active and passive voice determine whether the subject performs or receives the action. That is, if it's active, then your subject is the main character. Now, if it's passive, your action is the main character. All right. Active voice is always used to sound clear or direct. However, when you're looking at passive voice shifts, they are used to focus on the result. okay, the result that is pretty much obtained at the end of any activity. And understanding both the forms truly gives you that sense of confidence, clarity, and directness altogether. So, guys, I just want to kind of tell you that if you're learning with us on YouTube, this lesson is a part of a free grammar series. Okay. If you want guided practice and step by step confidence building, please get in touch with us and join us through the free link given in the description. Remember, always start free, but please continue only when you feel ready. Thank you so much for joining in today and have a great day ahead.